This is Turd Flinging Monkey for TFM News. I'm going to be responding to an article called My Husband Let Me Take a Year Off from Our Marriage. Here's What Happened by Bree Schwartz, September 6, 2016, published in GoodHousekeeping.com of all places. So I found out about this article from a Raging Golden Eagle video, which I'll post in the description. And then as I read it, there were things in this article that Raging Golden Eagle just didn't talk about, which really changed my entire opinion about this article. Hence this video. So the subject of this article is named Robin Rinaldi, who's the author of a book called The Wild Oats Project, where she has this year-long hiatus from her marriage so she can go fuck random dudes. Now you may remember I did a video last year about how Michael Sonmore, I'm sure that's not his real name, it's the name he gave in the article, he was this male feminist who in the name of feminism let his wife fuck other men. So this is a similar story, but it's written from the woman's perspective. And it actually has a completely different outcome, which I think is hilarious, but we'll get to that when we get there. Towards the beginning of the article it reads, quote, "After being hitched to her spouse, Scott Mansfield, for 18 years, she made the critical decision to enter into a year-long open marriage so that she could experience life, and by life we mean sex, with other people. Rinaldi, 51, who lives in San Francisco, says that she and Mansfield, a brewer and winemaker, were stuck in a rut. She told the New York Post, "Our once-a-week sex life was loving but lacked spontaneity and passion. But unimaginative sex isn't what convinced Rinaldi to try her experiment and ultimately write a book about it. She said that she finally reached a breaking point in her early 30s when she realized that despite years of pleading, Mansfield would never be willing to have a child with her," unquote. So let me just stop there. So this woman was married for 18 years, and she presumably must have known he didn't want children. It usually comes up before the I do's happen. Now I'm guessing that she went forward with the wedding and the whole marriage thing because he's a brewer and a winemaker living in California and probably has money. And maybe she thought she would forget to take her birth control or something like that and get pregnant that way. And for whatever reason, she didn't just straight up sperm jack him. I'm not really sure the details. I suspect there might be some sort of prenup or some legal thing, because usually, if a woman wants to get pregnant, there's so many ways she can do it. The fact that she pleaded for years and didn't just sperm jack him against his will leads me to believe they may have had a prenup, or perhaps he was simply infertile and couldn't have children at all. Now, Raging Golden Eagle, in his video on this article, gives her credit, basically saying, good for her and stuff like that, because she didn't just sperm jack it. But as you'll soon see, she has not a drop of honor in her body. So she decides in her own words, and I quote, "I refuse to go into my grave with no children and only 4 lovers. If I can't have one, I must have the other." So basically, this experiment was revenge against her husband, because he wouldn't put a baby in her vagina. She was going to put dicks in her vagina instead. But again, why didn't she just divorce her husband? I suspect, again, there was some kind of prenup. In fact, it's not spoken, but I almost guarantee everything adds up that there was a prenup. Because a normal woman, if she just wanted to go fuck other dudes, she would just divorce her husband, take her cash and prizes, and go fuck other dudes. But she doesn't. She goes the open marriage route. Now in my other video about Michael Sonmore, the reason why his wife did the open marriage thing was because Michael Sonmore was a stay-at-home dad. He didn't have a job, he just stayed home and his wife supported him. If she were to initiate divorce, she might have to pay alimony to him and she might lose custody to him because he's the quote-unquote primary caregiver, being the stay-at-home dad. So I totally get why Michael Sonmore's wife went the open marriage route rather than straight up divorcing him and saying, "I just don't love you anymore," and taking half his shit. And the reason why I suspect that she went the open marriage route was there was something, most likely a prenup, keeping her from simply collecting the cash and prizes and going to fuck other guys. Now I made the point in the other video, but the reason why women go for these open marriage things later in their marriage is because they're hoping to do better than you. They're reaching the end of their sexual marketplace value, they're about to hit the wall at full speed, and they want to see if they can do better than you. Now women might have the desire to just divorce you and go fuck other guys, but they may not be able to do better than you. Remember how hypergamy works. It's about trading up. It's not just about variety. They want to get a better man than you, not just a different man that's the same or worse than you. And when you're older, you have fewer options. The older, less young, less fertile you are as a woman, your sexual marketplace goes down, down, down. And then if you hit the wall, you're basically stuck with whatever man you're with at that time. At that point, you just have to hope there's some widower that really likes your cooking. But to an older woman who just wants to try things out, see if she could do better, but isn't that confident in her ability to do better, will favor an open marriage system rather than simply divorce and just going back into the pool. The reason why is when you divorce a man, you've burnt that bridge. You can't just go back to your ex-husband and be like, I'm sorry, will you take me back? I mean, some do. There are some guys that remarry their ex-wives after they've divorced them and gone to fuck other guys. They'll take them back. It's fucking pathetic, but it happens. But it's very risky, especially if there's going to be a messy divorce. However, if the woman proposes an open marriage, then she is free to go out and fuck other guys, potentially find a new man better than you and leave you for him. And if it doesn't happen, if she can't do better than you, she can just say, oh, I got it out of my system, I'm good now. Let's go back to being monogamous. And then she got the best of both worlds. She was able to go out, try to do better than you, but then she can always come back if it doesn't work out. So it's great for her. Anyway, let's continue on with the article. It reads, I reached a point that a lot of us face in midlife where I was about to have an affair. I knew I was going to cheat, we were going to get a divorce, and something had to change. And I figured if I was going to do it, I would be fair and give him the freedom. I knew it was a long shot, she explains. And now for the terms. Rinaldi rented an apartment where she lived from Monday through Friday. There she was allowed to court as many suitors as she liked. On the weekend, she returned to her husband and they lived like a happily married couple without asking each other what or who they did during the week. It wasn't as strange as you might imagine. I liked it. It was the perfect balance. Living on my own during the week and then returning home, she writes. We had sex as always and the open marriage spiced things up, at least at first. The few conditions were that they had to practice safe sex, couldn't sleep with mutual friends, and had to avoid serious relationships. Perfectly reasonable clauses, though they were all violated, unquote. Now, I see no mention of her having a job and working Monday through Friday. She's just going to this apartment to fuck dudes Monday through Friday, presumably at the husband's expense. Now, you may be getting angry at the guy at this point, but wait, there's a huge twist at the end. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a huge twist at the end. Now, later on in the article, it gives her age at the time that this experiment happened, which was 44. So this woman is 44, and she has a year off her marriage, where she could fuck as many guys as she wants. So how many guys do you think she fucked in a year? Just go ahead and guess. Think of how many guys a 44-year-old woman would have sex with in a year. The answer is 12. And 2 of them were women, because she says overall she had 12 encounters, 2 were with women, 1 of them was a threesome. It doesn't say if the same women were involved, or if these were different women, or if it was 2 guys. So it could anywhere between 2 and 4 women out of the 12. That was all the action she got in a year. In a year. I just want you to just think about this. This is a woman who wants to have sex with as many people as possible. She has 12 encounters in a year. That's like 1 a month. And because 1 of them was a threesome, it wasn't even 1 a month. And 2 of them were women. So what happened? Well, she's old. She's 44. Nobody wants to fucking tag a 44-year-old. Not even 44-year-old men want to tag 44-year-olds. But it also shows that she was looking for a replacement husband. Because she says prior to this that she placed an ad to meet people and she got 23 offers the first day. So she got 23 offers in 1 day but only fucked 12 people in a year. So she wasn't just trying to fuck random dudes. She was trying to find a replacement husband. That's the point of these open marriages. If you're a guy and your wife comes up to you and proposes an open marriage, that is exactly what is happening. She wants to leave you, but she doesn't have anyone picked out yet, and she needs to go out and fuck guys to try to find your replacement. That is exactly what's going on. But her mistake was waiting till she was 44 to do it. And I suspect because this was basically revenge for the guy not wanting to have a kid with her, and then at 44, well past the age when you really should be thinking about kids. Now, she may not have been menopausal, but once you're in your 40s, you're having like retard babies if you get pregnant at all. Like, you're extremely high risk for like Down syndrome and shit. So at that point, she really should have let it go. But obviously this was extremely important to her. So she figured if her brewer winemaker husband wasn't going to put a baby in her, she was going to find a replacement that would. Now, after the year was up and she went to go live back with her husband, having gotten all these 12 dicks or 9 dicks, I don't know, 9 to 12 dicks in her. The article reads, quote, after her trial year of condoned dalliances was up. However, Rinaldi and her husband struggled to make their marriage work. I like how they're sharing responsibility. You notice that when women fuck up, it's the men and the women's problem, but when men do something, it's just their problem. Oh, Rinaldi and her husband struggled to make their marriage work. I wonder why. I wonder why Rinaldi and her husband struggled to make their marriage work. It couldn't have anything to do with her wanting to fuck other guys. Fucking stupid. Anyway, let me continue. Quote, moving back home full-time proved more difficult than I had thought. After you open up a marriage and experience a whole range of sexual variety and aspects of yourself you've never had before, it's hard to put everything back in a box. You're changed. Suddenly I found an updated version of myself. The person I was at 44 was so much different than the woman I had been when I was last single at 26. She was less shy, more confident, wilder. Now here's the part where Raging Golden Eagle skipped over, and it's extremely important and telling. It's a blink and you'll miss it. 2 sentences. Quote, Mansfield, this is the husband, had changed too. For nearly 6 months, he had been exclusively seeing one woman who happened to be younger than Rinaldi, but she says that didn't bother her, unquote. So here's where she fucked up. She wanted to get revenge on her husband for not putting a baby in her, but she wanted that kind of plan B in case she couldn't do better. So she has this open marriage, she fucks a grand total of 12 people in a year, and then she has to come back, tail between her legs because she couldn't do better. Meanwhile, the husband had been seeing a younger woman. Now this is a completely different story than Michael Sonmore in the other article, because Michael Sonmore was an unemployed stay-at-home dad. Ain't nobody throwing their pussy at that. In that scenario, only the woman is going to benefit from the open marriage. But in this scenario, the husband was a brewer and winemaker. Presumably he had money. And nothing moistens a woman's pussy more than a man with money. So now the wife has returned from her little year off, which has failed. She didn't find her replacement, she only fucked a handful of people. And now her husband is seeing a younger woman, or saw a younger woman during that year off. And I suspect, it's not stated in the article, but I suspect that she kind of saw the writing on the wall. That she fucked up really, really bad. And so a couple months later, one of the guys she was fucking emails her, and then they start fucking again. So now they're just openly having an affair. So this year off, the whole like, I want to fuck other guys for a year, that's over. She comes back, but one of the guys emails her, and then she starts fucking him again. Just having an affair anyway. It says in the article, quote, being with him was exquisite. After reconnecting with Alden, who was the guy that emailed her, and falling deeply in love with him, there was no going back. So now she straight up divorces her husband to go be with this guy that fucked her while she was married. So you know they're just gonna like be totally committed and monogamous forever. It even says in another paragraph that the husband has found a new partner. It doesn't say wife, it says partner. Because I suspect he learned his lesson. In fact, if he never wanted kids, why did he even get married at all? I have no idea. But whatever, at least he learned his lesson the first time. And what's funny is the wife, Rinaldi, has been monogamously, and it's even parentheses monogamously, with Alden for 5 years. But if you go back 5 years, she was 46. So from 44 to 46, they still had an open relationship. And then I guess at 46, they decided to be monogamous. So she didn't want variety at all. You could tell by her actions, she wasn't in this for the sexual variety, she was trying to find a replacement husband. And she claims to have found him, but I mean, think about it, she traded a brewer winemaker, who was obviously a decent husband, but just because he didn't want kids, traded him in for this guy who fucks married women. And only 2 years later, after the relationship started, did they decide to like go steady or whatever. It's not a perfect ending. The perfect ending would be she lands on her ass and nobody wants to put up with her shit and she dies alone. That would be the perfect ending. But her ending up with just this dude who fucks married women is almost just as good, because he's going to drop her ass as soon as he finds a replacement for her. And oh, the sweet poetic justice of it. And the big winner in this scenario is the husband. Now I need to put that in context. It seems from the article that they're friendly. It doesn't sound like she drug him through the divorce courts and raped him. So if they divorced on friendly terms, and what's interesting is, if the woman has a replacement man, she's much more likely to divorce on friendly terms, because she's not as worried about financial security. She has another man lined up. But because she had this Alden guy, and it sounds in the article, it shows them like talking and discussing the book, it sounds like they're friends, quote unquote. So hopefully this guy didn't get divorce raped. And the best part is they didn't have kids, and it doesn't sound like he got divorce raped, and he just dropped his 44-year-old wife for a younger woman. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I mean, that is like the best scenario for this guy. And if you just kind of skim this article, it's very easy to dismiss this guy as just some cuck beta bitch who just let his wife fuck other guys and just went along with it because he's a weak pussy who can't keep his bitch in check. But he might actually be a mad genius. He saw this 44-year-old wife of his who's been bugging him for decades about having a baby, and then she pops a question that she wants to have an open marriage. I suspect he knew exactly what was going on, because there's no fault divorce. She doesn't even need a reason anymore. She can just say, I don't love you anymore, and that's it. Just collects her cash and prizes and leaves. But it sounds like she didn't have anywhere to go at the time, and hence she did this. And the guy actually made out. He dropped his bitch of a wife, his cheating whore of a wife, for a younger woman that, according to the article, he's not marrying. He just has a partner. So good for him. So good for you, Mansfield, former husband to this retarded bitch. And a word of warning to women in your 40s who think that they can still go out there and attract a quality man. Newsflash, you can't. You can't fucking do it. Your time is over. When you're in your 40s, you are long past your prime. The man you attracted when you were 27, unless he's like a drug addict loser, you're not going to do better than him at 44. So, lady, you were a retard to do this open marriage bullshit, and you deserve everything that happens to you. And your husband, your ex-husband Mansfield, he won. He won your little game. He outsmarted you, and you don't even know it. And that's the sweetest revenge. When you win, and the person, when you turn their little machinations against them, they don't even realize what happened. That's the sweetest revenge of all. Now I want to close by quoting the second to last paragraph, because here's where she actually expresses some MGTOW wisdom, which is really, really ironic. She says, quote, "But her biggest takeaway, passion comes in many forms, and the passion I was looking for at first, which I imagined I'd get from motherhood, and then I thought I'd get through new lovers, I was able to find in other ways. From friendships with women, from creativity. But the key is to find that passion for yourself and not expect it to all come from your partner," unquote. Now all you have to do is switch the genders around, replace woman with man and so forth. And you have MGTOW. Replacing this meaning found in fatherhood and relationships with creativity and friendships and community and all this other stuff like that, that's MGTOW. So here's a woman, a 44-year-old retarded bitch, who thought she could cheat on her husband and use her hypergamy to get a leg up, and it all backfired on her. Almost having her own little version of the red pill. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And I'm really kind of surprised that Raging Golden Eagle didn't pick up on this. But his video was good. He touched on all the major points. He missed the most important things of all, how the husband outfoxed her, and how her plan completely backfired and did not work as expected. So ironically, the tagline of the article, "The results of the experiment were unexpected to say the least," it's true. She expected to find a better man than her husband, leave her husband, monkey branch her way up to this new man, and have kids. That was her plan. I guarantee that was her plan. Divorce her husband once she found a replacement, have kids with him, and live happily ever after. And it all backfired. This is Turd Flinging Monkey signing off.